Hey, IT Nation, Sean Lardo here, evangelist here at IT Nation. Here today for another Wise Up podcast, where we sit and we talk to people throughout the space and not us in the space even, just to give best tips, tricks, and whatnot on how to improve your personal and professional life. I am here with my co-host, my good friend, does weird running stuff all the time, Matt Topper. How you doing, Matt?
Doing awesome. Really looking forward to today's run. If you didn't know, we're recording this on that day that the cold front is coming through the whole country just about. That's going to suck later.
Yeah, I'm looking up the temperature right now because when I got up this morning at 5 a.m, it was -4 and felt like -12. It is current, which I'm in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And Matt, you're located where?
Up in Rochester, upstate New York.
So now it is 2 and feels like -8. So, things are looking up for us.
We have 5, feels like -9.
Nice. Perfect. Good for you. See, we live in great places. It's amazing. But also, I'm in very good spirits because I watched my Ohio State Buckeyes win the national championship. Great game. Notre Dame really didn't have a chance, but then all of a sudden they had a chance, but not really had a chance, which was great to watch because Notre Dame, they just don't need to hear from them a lot. There's too many Notre Dame fans, and I don't appreciate how they're part of their independence. So they can go play wherever. I don't like that. Pick a conference and go at it.
Well, I was watching NFL playoffs. I don't really follow college. I think there's a theme. We talked about this. A lot of people who are originally from New York City don't necessarily follow college that much because there's so many pro teams.
Right.
So I was watching NFL. Unfortunately, the Bills won. I was kind of rooting against them. But all the games were good this week as opposed to last week, Wild Card weekend, when they were really lame. So it was a good weekend.
It was a good weekend for NFL. I'm a Steelers fan. I'm going to hate saying this, but I feel like Baltimore was a better team than Buffalo. I think that they take away those 3 turnovers and they win that game. They almost still, Mark Andrews dropped the 2-point conversion on the last play for them. So
it's such a cliche, but like the Baltimore beat Baltimore thing is really kind of true. That game.
They're like the new Red Sox with the Bambino curse.
Yeah.
They just are. The weirdest stuff happens.
Yeah, and how'd you like to be Mark Andrews? Like, what do you have? 2 drops all season and then 2 and a fumble?
Yeah, like he's money every year. Wait, better yet, be Lamar with only 4 interceptions all season, 4 turnovers. He had 2 turnovers in that game. He threw 1 pick and fumbled once.
That pick was so bad. It looked like he was sending it right to the defender.
I don't even know who he threw to. I don't know what he saw because I didn't see it. Whatever he saw,
somebody must have ran the wrong route or something. That's the only thing that makes sense.
It has to be. But we could talk sports all day. We're not here for that. We're here to teach people things. Although if you want to learn things, actually, probably a great piece to think about is playbooks. The NFL has them. College football has them. That's how they win championships, is what really good playbooks that they practice and run. Businesses should have playbooks also. Just saying. Sales, marketing, business development, product roadmap. Whatever, there should be a playbook for everything you do.
And that pick is what happens when you have miscommunication, right? One person thinks you're doing something, the other person's on a different page. Pick. Good
call. You're absolutely right. So with that being said, what other updates do you have right now? Anything that we should know about coming up?
Nothing new. I think by the time this airs and uploads, registration for IT Nation Secure should be open. So there's a lot of interesting and new things coming along with that. Please check it out. It's going to be super exciting. And Sean, you have a big thing coming up soon as well, don't you?
Absolutely. And depending on when this comes out, approximately, because it's recorded, not live. I'm sorry you all can't communicate with us like you really want to live. But I will be maybe at that time when this comes out, or before or shortly after this comes out, I will be at IT Nation Europe in London, where I'll be facilitating a couple panel discussions, representing the Pitch It group over there. Also just creating some awareness for different things that we're looking to do with communities conversation that we've really been trying to focus and push and stress in regards to this, because there's so much to the communities. I grew up in this community for the most part, as did you now at this point. And so it's a pretty big deal. So yeah, IT Nation Europe, March 10th to the 12th. I will be staying longer because my birthday is on the March 15th, and that's that Saturday after. So those of you that are wondering what to get for me, just send me things like gift cards. Send me money to go travel amongst, because I'm going to Scotland.
Traveler's checks coming up.
Absolutely. I'm going to Scotland to get scotch.
Nice. That'll be fun.
Absolutely. So again, enough about us. Let's get on to our guest. Our guest is a very good friend of mine, actually. We became friends years ago. He's a really cool guy. The impressive piece about this all is that he is the winner of Pitch It the year before I took it over as a vendor, but he was really an MSP all up until just recent around when he actually signed up for Pitch It and won it. So he made the migration from MSP to vendor. He's not just a vendor, he's also an MSP still to this day. So he's a serial entrepreneur by accident. And that's impressive. And he's actually had great success. So, and he, something for you, Matt, he's involved in cybersecurity, like is his joint, that's his jam. So you should have a lot in common, but I'm done giving him all kinds of accolades.
He does like Max though. So, I mean, we have one thing not in common.
You were so salty about the Max stuff. You're gonna let it go, Matt. Let it go. You can do it. But enough about telling how awesome he is. Let's bring him on now. Let's bring on Gene Rich from Traceless.
Hey guys.
What's
Matt,
up, Gene?
look. Hey man, I just want to let you know I've got like an old school 2-click mouse button. I hope this makes, I mean, it's USB and everything. It's got all the old shitty stuff that they put in Windows computers. So I just hope that this is like a sign of peace for us on this meeting,
It's better than the hockey puck mouse. I'll give you that.
Dude, they've had some failures for sure. I hope my phone doesn't ring during this call. Otherwise, you might lose my audio until you hear a bunch of cuss words. So yeah, no one's perfect in this world, I guess.
If we hear cuss words, they'll be part of our outtakes. That's all. Don't worry about it. We're good. All content is good content as far as we're concerned.
Perfect.
And I'll give you some accolades that are aside from just your business. I'm so glad you have pictures on your wall. And it's no longer like your inmate 15206.
Yeah,
I'm so impressed.
I'll just say this, Sean. There's been a lot that I feel like I've been able to focus on and achieve. And one of my still burning desires in my life is to print out 15 pictures of you and I together, you photoshopped into family portraits and whatever. And then one day you'll see me on a call, and I will just have pictures of us behind me. Okay. So just look forward to that. It's my commitment to the IT Nation today.
So what was on the wall before? Was it just nothing before?
Just
zero.
Sounds like you're in a prison cell, bro. Just do something.
Anything. And he's like, I have this really cool office on the other side of my desk. I was like, well, then turn your desk around or just turn the camera around. I don't care. Do something. And by the way, this went on for a year.
Yeah.
A year. We recorded a ton of stuff. We live. I'm like, dude, seriously, it looks like you're literally about to go get bathed in the showers at prison. You're about to get checked in and processed. Come on, man.
Yeah, we fixed it. Partially, though.
I'm so proud of you. It's baby steps,
yeah.
Yeah. So thank you. Now let's jump into it. All right. So,
all right.
Where are you from, Gene? For everybody that doesn't know.
Yeah, so I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago and then transplanted to New York City. And now I'm in Newburgh, New York, which is about an hour and a half north of New York City. So it's right on the river. There's an Air Force base here. We actually also have an international airport, but it's not as useful, I think, as most international airports.
So Sean, just to comment on our usual discussion, that means he's upstate now because he's outside of New York City, Long Island.
Okay, yeah. Let's talk about this for 1 second. Then I have a fundamental issue with the term upstate New York that's applied to everything according to Matt Topper. Anything outside of New York City is upstate New York. Okay. Now, Matt lives west. So to me, when I look at a map, I don't say west is up. I say north is up. Is that fair? And Gene, you can't do other work, by the way. You can't multitask, dude. We know this. So stop looking at what you're looking at and stick with our
It's
conversation.
tough. Well, man, I'm trying to get something done here, but it looks like
Close
we're on
it.
track.
Yeah.
I'll close it
We're
out
putting
now.
Gene on the spot with the upstate debate.
It's called a
Yeah.
podcast you're trying to get done right now for awareness for people to see what you're about. So be about this.
All right, I'm about this right now. So we're going to tell you about a segment of people who celebrated their football win, I think, Sunday. And so if you're in Buffalo, or you're close to Niagara, like very, very far north, so that's like 6 hours from here, you would probably not be very thrilled that I would be considering myself upstate New York. So even within New York, there's like a division of like above New York City, like basically above where the MTA stops, which is I think like Bronxville or something like that, or and then like Westchester, and that begins. A lot of people are like, yeah, it's upstate, right? But if you're really far, and that's even colder than here right now, so they're like, no, they have nothing to deal with. They're not upstate. They're in the city.
I agree. Everything to me, it's cool. If you want to use New York City as your true north barometer of everything, right? If that's what it is, then anything north of New York City is upstate. Okay, I can accept that. Matt lives West State New York.
Yeah,
he's in Rochester. He refuses to accept it. He just says upstate. I was like, no, it's West State. And if you live south of it, it's South State. East is East State.
So
I've never heard this. And nobody in New York says like Western New York.
Or downstate, or downstate and left state and right state.
Western New York is said out here. But see, my thing is growing up, right? So I grew up on Long Island, and the whole, everything, once you got out of New York City, that was just all a superset upstate. And, maybe some people would call like Western or the Southern tier. And then you had like upstate all the way, like by, the eastern side of the state. But the whole general thing, everything else was upstate is how we treated it.
We're going to be talking about this for 3 days if we don't get off of this.
Simon's going to kill us, bro.
I know.
He's like,
Simon,
guys,
we're going to be editing a lot of crap out of here. Okay, so you decide on what sounds smart and not.
Yes, I'm sorry I sidetracked us, but it's we don't get a lot of New Yorkers on here, so good debate.
Yeah.
So, now, let's talk about what you do. How long have you been MSP for?
It's going to be 20 years in February.
Wow! Congrats.
Yeah. Thanks. Awesome. Yeah, I think it's been interesting for sure. Been good to me.
So. Who's your biggest customer?
We don't talk about that. We only talk about fans on this podcast, Sean, and you're my biggest fan. I would just leave it at that.
I am your biggest fan. I am. Fine. Okay. I'm just saying you have a very big, high-profile client. I won't share it, but that's fine.
Yep.
Yes, very high profile, very popular. I'll just throw a few hints out. It's very popular among.
No.
I won't say what it is.
Let's talk about something else. Let's just talk about.
I was gonna say age demographics. I was gonna say very popular amongst like people between 15 and 30.
Okay, fair enough.
So I was gonna say, I know, I got it. So with that said, though,
it's not Starbucks.
Right, it's not. No, it's not. Well, that would be 15 to.
That'd be like 30 and up.
No, I don't know. I've heard teenagers love that shit.
They
really.
Yes, because parents take their kids there. I'm like, no, that doesn't happen for me. No, you drink bad coffee like I did if you want to drink coffee. So 20 years MSP. What made you start? What got you started as being an MSP?
I had was looking at Oracle as a path. One of my friends was Oracle DBA, and I had been very vocal about my amazement with Apple's products. Like, oh, I just got this iPod. It was incredible. The packaging was amazing. The experience is just way different. And then I bought a Mac and I unboxed it, and I was like, this is crazy how thoughtful they are. And he had a customer who with a record label. So he had a neighbor. So I think I could speak to all my fellow IT people out there that you get asked to do all sorts of shit from your family and friends. So if they know you're in IT, they're like, oh, hey, my VCR is broken. You can help me with you want to come help me for free, right?
Not like dating yourself. Not like dating
or
yourself.
Or worse, my scanner won't work.
Yeah, scanners, printers, all that stuff, right? So his neighbor was like, "Oh, you're an IT guy," even though he was an Oracle database administrator. He's like, "Can you help me with my VCR or CD-ROM or whatever?" Right? Straight up like home AV stuff. And he said, "Yeah, sure." And then through that, he found that they needed an IT guy or IT person rather, and he said, "You could do this Oracle stuff, but I know you're really passionate about Apple. Maybe you can help this person, and I think it'd be a good way to cut your teeth, and professionally we can run the relationship." And yeah, that was kind of client number one, was that. And I said, okay, I got to incorporate and kind of do my thing. And that was the beginning of my journey as I think you could say MSP, but at that point I think I was just a man with backpack, very
Yeah,
break
IT
fix.
support.
Yeah. So part of the journey.
So
Were you always doing Apple work
Yeah.
in support, or did that come later?
No, it started with Apple. So actually, they wanted to move to Apple. So that was kind of like my first thing, was conversion from Windows to Mac. And I've been an Apple partner for that long, formally. And but definitely did a lot of Windows work. So I was always kind of in the small group of Apple people, one of the few that was okay with the PC, right? So it's like, oh, your account uses Windows. Okay, fine. We'll take care of that, right? So we definitely have, I think, like 40% of our endpoints are Windows. So we have a decent like Windows-based population that we manage, but I think our vertical focus is around Apple, for sure.
It's funny, Matt. Think back, we did an interview with another MSP out of Buffalo, the Cleversley family. They focus on Apple as well. So it must be like a New York thing. Maybe you guys are just elitist in New York, upstate New York.
That must be it.
Yeah, they also focus on that. So that's and you guys, and what I learned from talking to them is there's a lot of incentives from like Apple, like programs to help you as a business if you're going to support their product lines.
I don't know about those.
Oh, well, I'll make sure I introduce you to them because they actually have groups.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Right. Maybe we're doing them and I just don't think of it that way, but I'm curious.
Well, yeah, no, like Apple was giving incentives to MSPs, put them in groups to do stuff to help them with, like, almost like what an MDF would be in a way, I guess, in some cases. And other things that they do, because that's how I met them. Was they had I was at an ASCII event down in Florida. They were down there. They were at the ASCII event, but before that, they had an event right before ASCII with like Apple distributors and Apple like processing MSPs and whatnot. So yeah, and that's covered by Apple, from my understanding, to some degree.
Yeah, they've got some perks and program stuff that they offer to be a part of their certified program. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's cool. I mean, it's like Microsoft and else, which is cool to have. So all right, so MSP.
Yeah.
Then you came to what we call the dark side to be a vendor.
Yeah. And that was also because of my Apple like work before. So I was working, it was funny, like I had helped Andrew Morgan, who's a great advocate in the MSP community. I think it was him, but anyway, get in touch with somebody at Apple because ConnectWise was trying to figure out some best practices for iOS. And I was in peer groups with people who early day were advocates for Apple and the ConnectWise ecosystem. And we were pretty noisy because there were a lot of compatibility challenges with ConnectWise move to the cloud. And for what it's worth, I mean, QuickBooks, they just made a new app, so the challenge of moving from a ASP on-prem app to a cloud app, I don't think Microsoft will be remembered for that, for enablement around that,
Yes, because Silverlight's the future. Silverlight was the future. It was going to be Flash. It was going to be the most amazing thing. And that lasted for 5 years. And like, well, we're sunsetting this. Good luck, everybody that downloaded that.
100%.
Yeah.
Good luck, anybody developed in it, because it's gone.
Then Ruby on Rails was the future.
Yeah.
Open source
Yeah.
was the future for them too. That turned into like, I don't know what it even turned into. They kind of say Azure is where they are now with everything, and that's sort of where it's supposed
So
to
the
be.
weird thing is, for the past, I mean, we're going way off topic, but for the past, I don't know, 10 years or so, I feel like almost everything Microsoft touches turns good, as opposed to the opposite, right? Like all of a sudden, Azure is awesome, 365 is awesome,
Everything?
Windows 10 and 11. Not everything, but it's the kiss of death that was once Microsoft is no longer a thing.
No, see, no, no, you're inaccurate. No. They do 500 things and 3 do well, and that's all. And then that's all they focus on, and they promote it everywhere. So that's all you can think. It's, I mean, for lack of a better term, it's basically they are just brainwashing us to not remember all the other crap. I'm not saying Microsoft's bad, because I think Microsoft. I love Teams. Gene was talking about Teams earlier before we got on the call. How Apple and Teams don't, or Mac and Teams don't work well together. I used to hate SharePoint. I still don't like SharePoint alone, but with Teams, I love SharePoint because it gives me a way to organize. So Microsoft has done really good stuff, and Microsoft has probably become the largest business operation unit in the world now, I feel like.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And look, I think that a lot of these companies, people just expect excellence out the gate. And I mean, Gemini on the Google side was initially not great, and now they have some better stuff coming out. And Copilot was not great compared to other things out there. And I'm sure in 5 years, with the way that they bundle stuff, you won't remember how horrible Copilot was when it first came out, and it'll just be part of your daily life, right? To your point,
I would
Sean.
agree. Well, I
Yeah.
think, but let's take it back to even the
Sure.
one thing I can say. Okay, so not taking anything away from Microsoft, because I can't, because they're great, right? In so many things, they at least are daring enough to put something out and try and put it into the wild and start working on it, right? Good or bad or indifferent, you have to respect that. Which, again, coming back to you full circle, you came into the vendor side. You had to do something, and you built. And when you built Traceless, why did you build Traceless? And why are you glutting for punishment? Is the question then too, because it's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. And I think that this was like a culmination of a few events, right? So because of the Apple stuff I was saying with Andrew Morgan, I got invited to this CISO think tank that Arnie was putting on, as he really saw like the vision of security being the next big wave for MSPs, right? And that eventually became like the cybersecurity advisory council that sits outside of the normal advisory council for ConnectWise. And that was like a really lovely part of my professional career, where I was with peers talking about things that were not like just like, oh, fixing a printer or how do I manage this. It was really like a think tank, and that was super fun for me. And I just realized that my own MSP had some vulnerabilities, and I couldn't find products on the market, which I thought was a little bit unusual. And so I called Peter, who's my co-founder, and kind of ran him through the scenarios, and he thought it was a pretty compelling idea. So we're like, let's build it for your MSP and see what we can do to build it into a SaaS platform. And I think that there's a lot of people who start companies in our space who are former MSP owners who have a real problem and build a product around that problem. This was also like COVID, right? So my life at that point was like, I'm home all day, I'm working all night. We had one kid. It was just kind of like, I guess work was a little bit of an outlet for me. So it seemed like it was the right thing to do. But it's been very challenging, as you can imagine, being responsible for so much. I feel like there's a lot of times it's very glorified, entrepreneurship. And I think that that's like a really wonderful part about the privilege we have in this country, is to be entrepreneurs and do what we want to do, and start businesses and be successful in that way. It's very much supported, but it comes at a cost at times. And I think that there's certainly no shortage of other ideas to start businesses I have, but I feel like I'm very fulfilled with my work commitments right now.
So how do you? Well, first off, how many children do you have now?
3,
Ages.
9 months, 3, and 5.
Okay, so to add to it, and I promised I'd bring this up. You're also a gardener. You had your house built recently, and you have all kind of land, and you're actually gardening. You're planting trees, all types of trees, and so how are you balancing? People can barely balance one.
Yeah.
One child, one company, one everything, right? Here you are, 2 companies, 3 children, a wife, gardening, everything else. How are you doing it?
So,
Do you know?
I think that no, I mean, I think it's pretty dynamic, right? I think some days it was like, thank God yesterday was a holiday. We had a crazy Sunday with some friends and no one got sleep. And, hopefully we're not going to get the neurovirus, or hopefully that wasn't what went through the house. But, it's like one of those moments where you're like, if I was going to script an absolutely ridiculous moment of like chain of events, I would have not been able to be this creative. I'm like, how do I torture somebody as much as possible? Like, let me see if I can write that out, right?
Yeah. So again, that comes back to my question: is how do you do it?
Yeah. So I think that there's a few things that have been consistent in my own ability to maintain. I think the first is taking care of yourself, and I think that that's not fully possible in the way that I'm not like selfish. I'm not able to be selfish, right? Being selfish is like, I want to watch a movie right now, or I want to go hang out with my friends, or like a lot of that comes third or fourth, given all the other commitments.
Fair.
And I think that like making sure I can work out a few days a week and I take care of my health, that's like the foundation of everything. And it's funny because I had really a long phase of my life where I'll get to that once I sell my MSP, right? And I'll start that focus. And I've seen a lot of people in our industry really take a turn and focus on their health and make drastic changes to their lives, and that's a really positive thing, I think, for everybody. But for me, that's like the real side effect of that is to keep my head clear, right?
Fair. Yeah.
It's the mental reset.
Yeah, and on the MSP side, I think, I've been able to delegate and move like a little bit further out of that business, which has been hard. It's been weird, right? Because you don't know, think about like, okay, you start as a marketing intern at a company, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh, good, this is a big company. You have like a whole path of career growth here, right? You can have that clearly stepped out in your career, right? And when you're a business owner, no one's like, okay, now you need to delegate service tickets, even though you know that they're not going to be done as well as you do it, right? Or you need to delegate accounting work because that's not where you add value. And you don't have a manager saying, Gene, in our recent review, I looked at your performance last quarter and you provide value to the company by doing A, B, and C. You don't get that. So there are peer groups, which is lovely. There are friends who are supportive, but
that's totally
it's very different.
Yeah,
Totally
it's different.
I would what I've seen typically, and the reason why people can't be entrepreneurs is maintaining that self-starter and self-accountability and also self-praise to keep going, positioning. So again, you mentioned mental health as far as making sure physically you're taken care of, make sure you're happy and grounded, right?
Mm-hmm.
But how do you keep yourself motivated? Because if there's nobody say good job or attaboy, there's nobody above you.
Yeah, I think when it's done classically, you think about somebody with a big vision board and somebody who's very organized and segmented about like, oh, I have this goal, and I'm not quite there myself. I think there's a really interesting article that Paul Graham, I think he was the founder, not a co-founder, but the founder of Y Combinator, which is well known as the most reputable and successful accelerator VC for early stage companies. And his article is How Not to Die, or something like Don't Die. I mean, Simon, if you could find it and put it in the notes, that'd be great. And, it's
Yeah,
really funny
save
because,
this poor guy from saying all the wrong information.
right. But the premise of it, right, is that like, he's like, I wish I had better information for everybody, right? The
Right.
only stat that I can tell you is that the people who are wildly successful don't die. The business does not die. They don't put themselves in places where it's dangerous. They don't give up, right? They keep trying. They're okay with, hey, maybe this wasn't the direction. We're going to do a different direction. And they're focused to that, and they're tenacious. I've heard other people, say like refusing to take a knee, right? That's like, and I think that that's really, for better, for worse, the only thing I could tell you is that keep going. And also, like, by the way, deciding that you don't want to keep going is completely fine. There's nothing wrong with that, right? But
well, you keep going
that's
in
like
one
the
way or
only thing.
another.
Yeah.
No, you're going one way or another. It doesn't matter. You have to keep going.
Yeah.
regardless,
Yeah.
Because whether you're working for somebody at a job or not, but the only difference is, and I mean, we all grew up. Well, Gene, well, you guys are both younger than me, but not by much. Well, Matt is, and I grew up in a blue collared area of Pittsburgh, so you're supposed to go work at a union.
Yeah.
And even if you only made $30,000 a year right now, and that was the most you were ever going to make, it was still a safe bet to take that job, because at least you know what you're getting paid and you were secure and safe. It's more about the security and stability, not taking the chances. So I feel like when you go down this pathway for you, and again, 2 companies, man, what possesses you to do it and have the confidence to do so?
Yeah, I mean, I think
is it you or the product that makes you confident?
I don't think it's as black and white as that, right? But I appreciate the question, right? I think you're getting at a really important area, but I think the backstory to that is the struggle, right? The decision that you're going to stay in it, the decision that you had a really hard day, but tomorrow you'll have a good day, and looking at trend lines, right? And is my revenue going up? That's a good thing. Is my margin where it is? No. Okay, then I got to work on that. Okay. And once you can like work through different areas of a business and understand that your focus yields results, you just have to have time and space to feel like you could do that work and know that it's not going to happen overnight. I think we're really conditioned that becoming a billionaire is the only path to success, and that it's easy, or that person has some sort of undeniable skill set that put them in that position. When I think a lot of people who are that successful are very accomplished, but a lot has to do with time and place and who you are, where you were born, what your network is. And I mean, so I think that, like, to keep going, you have to be okay with the downsides and keep pushing towards what you believe, which is your capability of succeeding.
How much of it is that you've decided to, I know I was making fun of Apple before, but that you've decided to truly specialize and get down into the details of Apple, right? And be that authority in your area for Apple support, or for what you do at Traceless, right? Is laser focusing like that the only path? Are there other things? Or how much of that do you attribute, how much of your success do you attribute to that specialization?
I think that the value proposition needs to align with your customers, right? So if you can align the value proposition around security, then that's a great way to think about it. If you could do it based on vertical of the business, then that's a great way, right? And I think we've been able to align on, what we're experts at, which is certainly Apple stuff. And so if you're, for example, if you're like an Intune expert, right, and you love identity, maybe that's what you focus on. Does that mean you're like an Azure expert? Well, no, you probably know enough to do work, right? But maybe you want to be an Intune. Maybe you want to be an Office 365 expert, or you want to be an Azure expert. It's very different. I mean, there's just like the work that is out there. I think that that's also sometimes the the overwhelming feeling of not going fast, but like at the same time, the overwhelming knowledge at how large the opportunity is for all of us. I mean, that's like a real weird two things to really know coexist at the same time for me, always.
Well,
So
it takes some self-reflection to think about it, right? Like, say you go down the Azure path, all of a sudden you decide, oh, this is kind of cool. Maybe I'm going to turn into a Terraform expert now, right? Then like you just go deeper and deeper, and it takes some self-discipline to think about what do I really want to be good at, and what do I really want to offer as my specialization or become an expert in.
Yeah.
I want, and let's expand on it for a second here. The fact is like what you said again is inch wide, mile deep in what you're doing, right? Be an expert of what you should be the expert of based off of what your skill set is and what you love to do, right? And in that way, you can provide quality service, product, etc., and be able to handle the business. It's exactly. I did a live stream with Dan Scott about IT Nation Europe coming up in March. Just earlier today, when this is recorded, so you'll never know what day it is. We did in our guest keynote is David Priestley. He is a guy, and it was a really good conversation because he has what he does now. He's a serial entrepreneur also, but now he works with entrepreneurs, MSPs specifically. He works with a lot of them and tells them how to grow and scale their business. And the first thing he said to us, which, is MSPs make a mistake of talking about geography first. Oh, you're in my geo, so I can work with you. He said, and what he suggested was you should work with, if you work with dental, say you work with dental, because now it puts you in a real conversation with somebody, so you know who you're addressing. You can go get your target list. You can build your service around exactly what they do, their process, their procedures, their whatever, because the geo doesn't change that. But realistically speaking, if you're an MSP and you support healthcare has a set of rules. You got to be on point with all of it, from compliance and governance to whatever technologies you can use and whatever else, right? And also work the same hours as them. If you work with legal, it's different rules. Again, all these different things. So he said, focus on that first, so you know what your persona is, your addressable persona group, and then you go at it. So now he's talking about being an inch wide and a mile deep, which I totally appreciate. And you're saying the exact same thing, not saying that that's how you address it, but you still said that's what you got to be at.
Yeah, and I think it's like one of the things that's been challenging that we've worked through is most MSPs, like many service businesses, grow from a referral effect, right? So, you do really good work, you're nice or whatever, people like what you do, their friends are in their kind of network, they say, hey, I got this problem, and I got a great company, they do all of our IT. Now, what that causes is that you're a specialist in nothing, because you're showing up and you're saying, oh, you're a dental practice. I can understand that. You have a server and desktops and a network. Okay, you're a law firm and you know Joe over there at the accounting firm. Yeah, no problem. I can service you, right? But then, you start thinking about sales and marketing. And what are you going to say? I'm everything to everybody, right?
Yeah.
And I can't tell you, I probably spent 4 or 5 years with that lack of that one thing, the pivotal, like, you grew because you were able to take on any business, but you can't advertise everything to everybody. And then the panic of like, well, then how am I possibly going to find any more customers if I don't do everything for everybody, right?
Right.
And so that's I think that's why a lot of us MSP owners struggle with that transition, is because many of us think we're great at selling, but we don't know anything about sales, right? And we could sell to anybody, and we should, because we're the best person with the most certificate, whatever the things are, right? You got to have some sort of confidence to have more than a few customers, right?
Yep.
Well, take your dental example. How powerful is it to go up to a potential client and say something like, we have 10 other clients that all use Dentrix or all use EagleSoft, and when they ran into an issue, this is how they fixed it. This is what worked better for them. This is what they switched to, right? As opposed to, yeah, I know Windows really well, or I know Mac really well. It's such a different experience.
Yeah. So That's good that you guys talked about that, Sean. I think it's really a good message to stay on for MSPs that want to grow.
Sure. And then now the next question though is you and this is part of his talk also, which is good, about chasing clients. And you kind of said you can't do everything and you can't offer everything. So how do you keep yourself from coming across as being desperate and refocus yourself back on here's what we do deliver? Because as a vendor, especially, my goodness, you could go as a vendor with a cybersecurity offering, we already know it's ambiguous and vague, right? So with that, you always run the risk of saying, oh, we're going to do all these things.
Yeah.
So how do you keep yourself grounded?
Yeah, I think sales is a numbers game, right?
Mm-hmm.
So grounded is like maybe maybe you're inferring that taking losses makes you think I can't do this because I'm not going to find enough people, but then you realize you don't have enough at bats, right? And if you don't have enough at bats, you're not going to get real data that tells you that you're doing the job that you think that you're doing, right? And so I think that's well, I mean, and like anything, I think anyone who's owned a business has figured out so much, right? They figured out accounting, they figured out legal, they figured out how to present themselves professionally, they figured out insurance, they figured out management of people, hiring people. I mean, HR, like all the stuff that you have to do before you can find an expert to do that for you. You have to know a little bit about. And I think all of the community should feel that they can figure out sales and marketing. But it might take a few years, and that probably doesn't feel good. But you have to remember that while you were doing reactive support, you were slowly figuring out how to manage people, right? It wasn't like a mandate of like, in order to get your business to the next level, you have to do sales, right? You're kind of learning over time in a way that's not too, doesn't feel as defeating, at least for me. So I think that's the other thing. It just takes time.
Right.
So Gene, we have time for one more question, and we always end our interviews with something that we ask about practical advice for our listeners, our viewers, and it's a question about habits. So what we ask is, if you could give our audience one habit that they should either start doing, they should establish, or that they should stop doing, that they should just cease, what would it be? Something that they can take away and use to improve their business or their operations, or just to help them get better. What's your advice?
Yeah, so I think that like it's funny because I didn't submit this. Maybe I'll submit it this year, but I was going to do a panel around wellness at IT Nation Connect, right? So, I think like I'm not going to offer any advice about anything technical or MSP or business operations, right? My advice is to take care of yourselves, right? And that's through, some form of fitness and some form of eating properly. And I think that that's like, all of us in the community that participate are usually owners. Not all, but like a lot of the people who are deep in this are owners. And if you don't have your health, you have nothing. And I think as I've gotten older, I've seen people fall off, and my heart breaks because of that. And we're all working so hard. And if we don't have our health, all of that means nothing. So that would be my advice.
That's a fair point. I think I think that's always a problem is, and I think when you're younger in your career, like what you said earlier about you had one kid, but you saw work as your outlet, right? Which is great if that's your outlet at that time. The problem is later on, it becomes your only, it becomes it's a habit. It's also, it's also a hobby. It's also your sense of communication and socializing too. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I don't even know what I even like.
Oh man.
Yeah. I mean,
it's close.
Yeah. How many people do you think have a conversation with themselves at one point like, oh my God, I don't even know what I like to do on a weekend? I don't usually do anything because I'm working, or then you have a family then too. So now you add on the responsibility. So I think we can all appreciate that fact of it's taking care of yourself, whether it's physical or mental or both.
Both.
It should be both always, right? But
and it's a long game too, right? It's not like, oh, I'm just gonna get to my 50s and then do something different, right? It's like, it's a long game. So the time to start is now, right?
Yep, absolutely. All right. Gene, any parting words here?
It's good to see you guys. Thanks for having me. Thanks to the IT Nation. It's been a minute, so it's good to come back and see you both. I know we've talked about doing something, so thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. It was nice to have a conversation not all about tech like happened last time. We made something.
Oh yeah, that happens. Well, that's no, we really appreciate you being open and honest about yourself and the process. I mean, we could probably talk about this for hours. Really, this could literally be its own series of conversations of how to go into business and stay sane. You know,
it's a rich topic.
Yeah, and it is. And so appreciate you doing this, man. It is good seeing you. I don't see you enough, and that's a problem. Such a problem.
Agreed.
We're due for cigars and a drink really soon.
Absolutely.
Yes. But all right, so we're gonna check out of here. Matt, good seeing you, man. Look forward to seeing you guys. Where do we find you next, Gene? Where do we find you? Next physical event?
I'm at Traceless.com, physical event. I'll probably be at PAX 8 Beyond and then IT Nation Connect this year. I'll probably drop into some other ones, but I'm still figuring out my schedule for the family. That's usually how we do it. Like, what are we trying to do this year as a family? Figure that out, and then where do I fit in everything else around that? So,
take care of the house.
And hopefully before, you and I, once it's not 2 degrees outside.
Yeah, no, it's not happening right now. Nothing's happening right now, dude. Nothing. But all right, thank you, Gene. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah.
Look forward to seeing you soon. Matt, good luck on Secure.
Thanks, guys.
All right, thanks all. We're done. Peace out, Girl Scout.